59
Who is
and 11
this?
months. That's a guy that they call the father of rock and roll.
Oh, yeah?
Chuck Berry. Son of a gun.
Yeah, I heard about him. Now, this position you're standing in here.
My secretary calls it the X shot because my legs are bent in, so.
They have to go to the bathroom look? Same shoes?
It had to be around 58 or 59.
Now, I remember this shot, you know, and a couple of other things right here, too. I guess I was maybe 12 years old when I first saw this, but when I first heard this, for me, there was a kind of separation in your version of rock and roll and everybody else's. It was like, where did this guy ever hear of Beethoven and Tchaikovsky, the lyrics that you were using and everything? Seemed like there was this kind of sophistication in them in regard. It wasn't bebop-a-lula and wop-bop-a-luma. It was lyrics going by, like bang, flying by. It wasn't somebody who was just trying to get to the end of the song. It was somebody who was actually, each line was written out.
Trying to tell a story, Robbie.
Yeah?
Really. It came from actually poetry. Poetry portrays a scene or a story, and that's where my lyrics would originate from. Some thought that from it came a story and then proceeded with music or some riff that reminded me of some situation that brought about a story, you know. Could come from music or come from lyrics.
But poetry, you knew about poetry. You were into poetry.
Very much so.
Really?
Very much so.
Because that's kind of unusual when, in that period, that rebel period and everything. I mean, poetry and sissies kind of went together. So it was a rebel against a rebel idea.
I don't know. Beatniks were into poetry a lot. I used to see...
That's true.
Yeah, Beatniks were into poetry.
Yeah.
And, just before I turn, this picture here was in my first office.
The sex symbol picture.
Maybe I was 19. Young and tender and innocent, you know. But
Pretty
here
innocent.
you can see I began to learn things.
Yes, the innocence is slipping away in this picture.
Yeah. I began to lose money there.
How come this is burnt like this?
No, this, when Fran started the scrapbook in 57, we had a fire at the office in, I think, 70. And it burnt our scrapbook, and these are the survivals of it.
Uh-huh.
And what we have here, my first car that my sister
To the registration?
had to sign for, yeah. The first one was a Ford, the second one was a Plymouth 33 and 34. And what is that, a library card?
Library card, yeah.
And a check stub from National Tea Company, a check stubs. I'm in the money here. I'm making $90 a week here at Fisher Body Auto.
What were you doing there?
Sweeping the floor, that's all we could do.
They didn't care nothing about these songs there.
No songs were, no. I was singing for $20
Who is this?
a night.
Is this musician's union card here?
Oh, I got that in 54 and started learning.
But who is this person's name on here?
Well, that's my name, sort of camouflage, that N.
I
Barron. Chuck Barron, because I wasn't big, and then I didn't want to infiltrate. My dad was a deacon. So you don't want the...
He didn't want you playing this music from the
I didn't
devil.
want him to know I was playing it, that's for sure. And American Car Foundry, you see, I worked, you know.
Yeah,
you
you paid your dues.
At $21 a night playing music, you have to have another job, you know. This is me here in the Antioch Baptist Church choir. How can you tell?
Well,
we all look alike there.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
all of them but you.
Oh, okay, and that's in the Antioch Baptist Church choir, and this is my 8th grade graduation. And I don't know where they all put. He's put me on the top row.
In the back row, too.
Oh, yeah. I'm only majored in math. I flunked all of my history.
What is this, you playing the saxophone?
And that was my
Chuck Berry
turn, too.
playing saxophone, believe it or not.
Well, Johnny Johnson there inspired me to do that.
Old bullet hand Johnny, huh?
Oh, yeah. He had an air hammer right hand on treble and a dynamited left hand on bass boogie woogie. This here is also the Cosmo here. This was a going-away party when Maybelline had. This was about September of 1955, and I left the city on August 15th, 1955, to go to Gleason's Bar, which is here. Gleason's Bar, August 15th, 1955, Cleveland, Ohio, $800 a week behind $21 a night at the Cosmo over there. And just the week before, I was making $32 at the Frolic Bar, $14 at the Three Brothers, $60 with the whole band at the Green Dragon. The Capital Cocktail only paid $15, but Gleason's, $800 a week.
That's when you decided, I think this is for me, huh?
This is the way to go. Of course, you know who this guy is. And Robbie, this is Muddy Waters behind the mic.
Yes, it is.
And this is a disc jockey in Chicago. He's pretty big, named Al somebody. But this is Leonard Chess.
Yep.
In his glory.
Mm-hmm.
With a hit maker on his hands. And this was my first and only manager.
Oh, yeah?
400-pound Teddy Reed, you know.
Uh-huh.
Who saw fit to slip $50 of $150 PC into his pocket. And I have to know for a fact because I dated the owner to the club, and she happened to mention that it was $150 PC, and I says, oh, yes, you know. So now I know by a manager clip. You learn all these things as you go.
So, and you've never had a manager since?
No. I couldn't get rid of him until I lay dead, until he did sign one of my checks and endorsed it, rather. And then I asked him for that or release.
I remember the first time I ever saw you on one of these Alan Freed shows. It was in Toronto, and you're coming through. And it was a big thing. You were by far the biggest star on the show. The show begins, and you're the first act that goes on. I thought to myself, I mean, even at that age, I thought, this is strange.
Well, listen, you know,
how come Chuck Berry wants to go on first?
Well, it's not once, it's where they put you. And so
all right, well then,
I didn't know
let's
that
cut
the star
ahead.
was
Let's
on the
cut
air.
ahead in time, and a year later, I see an Alan Freed show playing. The show opens, Chuck Berry plays first. I think, what is this? Why did you insist on opening the show? I mean, I could see in that stage, they said, okay, Chuck, we want you to go on first. Then you had like 2 or 3 more hits after that. I go and see the show. You're still playing first. What was the...
Okay.
There had to be a method to this madness.
Okay, I was a good opening act. And it didn't matter to me, and then...
Because everybody was arguing over, I'm going to close the show,
I
I'm going to close the show.
But Chuck Berry, because Chuck Berry didn't know that the star closes a show until maybe 2 years into his career, when he began to look at the money that the stars got and why they closed. Then he wanted to close, you know. And still, really, it doesn't matter today whether I close or open the show, because I'm going to try to rob everybody of the starship. Yeah, try.
Yeah.
You know.
I thought, there's got to be something to this. It's something I thought.
It doesn't matter.
I
really.
got to understand. You know, there must be some kind of special thing that he's onto that nobody else is getting, or something. In this.
Here, if you go on first and you're not responsible for a riot if it happens, or you get and you're finished, and if the thing breaks up on the 3rd act, you're still finished, and you're remember, it's a livelihood also.
Did you stick around and watch the rest of the shows?
Oh yeah, because you had to ride the bus to the next gig, and then not knowing that the better position and the better status of a artist to play last, you know, last impression last. I didn't know these things, you know. In fact, when I went to the Paramount, my first New York gig, I didn't know that you changed. You know, you do 5, 6 shows a day. I didn't know that you changed. And the one suit that we had was satin, and had the impressions of seersucker. You know, seersucker, you old enough to know what a seersucker is? and it was wrinkled, and and I found out that they had irons and things to do your clothes up also, and people there to sew your clothes. All these new things. And really, until I got to the Paramount, I didn't know that you had a room to yourself, like a dressing room.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is almost like home. All you have to have is a car and your guitar, and you can make it in the world. You're just constantly playing gigs. You have to have one every night, have somewhere to sleep.
When, how come you did so much work with Alan Freed? I mean, you must have been in every one of those Alan Freed movies.
Well, now.
All of those shows. I mean, did you have a good relationship with the guy? I mean, did you have a good business relationship with him, or did you really think that he was?
No, I tell you, had a good relationship with him. My record company.
Oh yeah.
And this was
I
when
get it.
Paola was born, and the record company gave, as I understand it, the record company gave the record to Alan Freed, and it was either jumping from Cleveland to New York, whatever station it was. And, of course, then, with a little compensation, you played a record. And I imagine that's what he got because he played it, and it was heard. Now, the record might have had a little punch to it also, and I imagine it did by living all these years. And that's where he is affiliated,
He had that kind of
Not
power
only
in those
that.
days, huh?
Oh, yeah, record, and anybody did who had national wow. And so Leonard Chess was tied in with him, among other ties.
Who's this?
That's my wife, Themetta. And this is 1956,
Wow.
at home. And they told me to pose at the piano, and this is the front of that house.
Uh-huh.
And this is the famous pink Cadillac that used to get tickets of itself. They say they wasn't giving me a ticket, but the car was weaving in and out of the room. This is St. Louis Lambert Airport, when it was a small airport. This is a picture of...
The young lovers.
Yeah, this is in courtship year. 6 months we courted. And this is Ingrid. She's done an album with me, my daughter. And this is Melody, my second daughter. And here they are in school. And display of Sepia magazine, courtesy Sepia.
Right. Yeah, here's one of those movies.
Yeah. And this is Rock, 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 the first movie I did, and it was with Alan Freed. I don't know what the figure on it. It's something like $600. I didn't know it. A lot of money to me then.
Yeah, roll over Beethoven. How far did you go in school? I mean, that's what made me think when I was a kid. I thought, God, this guy must have gone to school or something. He's talking about Tchaikovsky and using these kind of lyrics.
Okay, I went to through high school. And a bit of college, but not general education. It was on cosmetology. I went to college. Only for cosmetology, hairdressing, coiffure.
Really?
Coiffure. Oh, yeah.